In this video, I will be looking at the bigger picture, even though we are not supposed to do that, and therefore autism is only mentioned in passing. I recently developed this concept of a neurological spectrum, which ranges from individual identity to collective identity. On this spectrum, autistic people lean heavily towards individual identity, which provides us with both an intellectual advantage as well as with a societal disadvantage. Of course, we are all individuals as well as social beings, and our neurology determines our place on the neurological spectrum, which is somewhere between its hypothetical extreme ends. In this article, however, I will use the terms the individual and the social person to describe these extreme ends. In this context, the individual is someone who acts based on their individual judgment alone and who remains immune to any outside influences, while the social person is someone who has absorbed all expectations of the group they are part of without any sense of individuality. The individual identifies themselves individually and therefore initially approaches everybody else as an equal individual, no less and no more. As a unique human facing another unique human, they appreciate any differences in the other person. The social person identifies with a group, either with the group most important to them or most relevant in the context, such as nationality, religion, race, ideology, and so on. They consider their group to be superior and therefore view outsiders and other groups, as well as misfits, with disdain and suspicion, harboring an us versus them mentality in which others are feared, hated, ostracized, discriminated against, and dehumanized, often going as far as war and genocide. Since the individual regards others as equals, they don't patronize anybody, but they also don't accept authority over them when it is based on hierarchy or other social constructs. Therefore, the individual doesn't just follow orders, just like they don't follow the crowd, but stands up for what they believe is right and just, regardless of their affiliation with either side. And because the individual consciously decides their own actions, they will always accept responsibility for them. The social person accepts the hierarchy within their group and doesn't question the orders of their superiors. Neither condemns the actions of other group members, no matter how immoral, illegal, or atrocious they may be. And since the social person always acts on others' orders or copies other group members, they will always refuse to accept accountability for their actions. The individual cares about the well-being of others, regardless of how different these people may be from them. The social person cares about the well-being of the group, regardless of the fate of individual members, including themselves. For example, if they identify themselves by their nationality, the main indicator for the group's well-being is the economy, and all sacrifices, including human sacrifices, are justified to achieve the best outcome, even if it means they have to suffer themselves. This sentiment is best illustrated by a motto the Nazis had adopted from a war poem: "Germany must live, even if we have to die." The individual welcomes progress as they appreciate everything that improves their lives and that of others. The social person believes that the status quo is the ideal state of things and that any change would be detrimental to the well-being or integrity of their group. The individual lives in hope of a better future for everybody, while the social person lives in fear of what will happen if they don't conform. As I pointed out, we are all somewhere in between these two extremes. On the left, the individual end of the spectrum, you will find liberals, autistic people, atheists, innovators, artists, human rights activists, and whistleblowers. On the right, the the social end, you will find conservatives, people pleasers, crowd followers, blind eye turners, and those who just follow orders. And on the far right, you will find, well, the far right. But our position on this spectrum is flexible. And while some people, especially those whose individual nature and expression have been subjected to ridicule and discrimination, may move further towards the social end in order to fit in, it is more likely for people to move further towards the individual end due to education, exposure to other worldviews and cultures, or simple reflection on society. Furthermore, it is very likely that all children initially start out on the individual end, but that many are pushed towards the social end of the spectrum by society and/or conservative parents.